Good morning and happy Mother's Day. Thank you for joining us this morning for this Mother's Day service. Normally, we would have a CYS pancake breakfast going on in the annex, and a lot of people running around, and a lot of conversations and people meeting and greeting each other. And I hope you're able to do that at home, be able to spend some time with family and maybe friends too. At this time we can maybe gather together some of our friends and spend a nice morning on this beautiful day, spend a little bit of time together. We'll begin this morning's service with the reading of Sambujo, followed by Sanbutsuge, the reading of Sanbutsuge. So if you please join us now. 조세머린 쇼가그나이온 고르지포 가이몬 쇼진 삼마이지에 이토크무렵 쇼쇼케 어진다이젠넨 쇼무츠호 가잉어진진노 긍엉아이 토이모묘여그누 세손여문인 너시십 진토크무려 긍엉어나이 지에짐여 고묘이소 신노다이 생강아사뭇 자이쇼호오카도쇼집 미퍼게나츠허세조입 가이닌 쇼진요세 삼마이 지에이종어세 통음읍 흥여싱안 이사잉응읍 이사다이 안케시음읍 향우센노 그만 무료나이 쇼신용어잡 그여 이사이시토쇼뭇 헌영은어 겐쇼흥약 인용어자쇼무츠생의 무풍앙의 무슈세츠노 고묘시쇼 헨시쇼 고쿠뇨세쇼진 이진난료령가사무츠 고쿠노다이 이칭오슈키묘 도조초zetsu 고쿠뇨나이온 니무토송아토 아이민 도나츠 이사이지뽀라이쇼 신네츠 쇼조 이통아 공케라쿠안논 고무츠 심여생아신쇼 호승안노 히링이쇼쇼역 진모세손 지에멍에 조녀시손 징아싱여 계녀신십 쇼크노크쯤 망여쇼진 닌즈펑에 Again, good morning. Welcome to this morning's service. This morning we have as our speaker, Michael Jones. Michael, as you know, has been working on the Jodo Shinshu correspondence course, and it's almost been 2 years, and so he completes his studies this summer along with Dennis Akizuki. And he shares with us this morning his experiences, his understanding of the Buddha Dharma. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Sensei. Welcome, everybody. Please join me in Kansho. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. The mind is everything. What we think, we become. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. Namanda. Well, again, welcome and happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Thank you for everything that you do for all of us every day. You know, as we approach the end of the school year, many of our younger Sangha members may be thinking about their next steps, whether you are moving from grade to grade, or from elementary to middle school, or transitioning to high school, or you're getting ready to head off to a university. These are major changes in your life to this point. Even for those who are entering a graduate program or adding another undergraduate degree to their list, there have been some big decisions that you've been made. Or at least there have been a lot of thinking about the future. Have those questions about the future been driven by others? Or are you the one asking all the questions at this point? Whether you're 5 years old or in your 20s, it would not be a surprise to anyone if you'd been asked recently, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's a common question, and the intent is actually quite harmless. No one actually expects that you will go on to become exactly what you are thinking about when you're under 10, or even when you're in high school. Part of what the question is trying to get from you is what's in your imagination? What are the things and who are the people that fascinate you? Are you supposed to know the answer now? What if you change your mind? Is that okay? For the parents of high school juniors and seniors, I'll apologize if you believe this message will conjure up some level of doubt in your child as they consider colleges and majors. But have you ever thought about what we're asking a 17-year-old to commit to? For the adults, think about this for a moment. Many of you have at least one college degree. Most of you are gainfully employed with 5, 10, maybe 20 years of work experience. When you're about to buy a new computer, a TV, a refrigerator, a car, how much time do you spend researching that purchase before you actually buy it? Do you read articles comparing features, brands, ratings, and opinions? I would guess that there are some of you that would agonize over such decisions. These decisions cost you $1,000, maybe $5,000, or for a car, it could be even $100,000. You'll have the benefit or be stuck with the result of that decision for 3 years, 5 years, maybe up to 10 years. Now, let's go back to our high school student. At 17, we ask them to make a decision about a major course of study and a college to undertake that course of study. This is in the hope of a target career that could start after a 4-year degree requiring a master's degree or even a PhD, medical or law degree. And that's from 4 to 10 years of college. At $40,000 to $80,000 a year, that's $160,000 for tuition alone, upwards to $800,000, and a commitment of 4 to 10 years of study followed by a 30 to 40-year career in the field chosen. So at 17, We want our children to make a lifetime decision that could start them off with hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt and to the career itself. And when they are slow to commit, we pressure them more. How long did it take you, the educated, experienced adult, to decide on a 3-year commitment to that $2,500 computer? Now back to the kids. And really, by kids, I mean anyone under 30 years old. When we ask what you want to be when you grow up, what are you thinking about? Typically, it'll be something that really interests or fascinates you at the time you're asked that question. And that's fine. If that's your answer, then it's a great answer. You like fire trucks and want to be a fireman or firewoman? Great. We'll always need them. Do computers interest you and you want to be a computer scientist? Are garbage trucks neat? You want to work on one of those and see what everyone throws away? Fantastic. Does the fact that children are starving in this world really trouble you and you want to help them? We need you. But once you answer the question, is that supposed to be your answer forever? Can you change your mind? Does anyone ever change their mind? The answer to those questions in order are no, yes, and yes. That is, no, that does not need to be your answer forever. And yes, you may change your mind. And yes, people change their mind all the time. In fact, change is something we talk about around here all the time. Let me give you a picture of my own path. If you had asked me about my future when I was in middle school, let's say 8th grade, I would have told you I was going to be a lawyer. And in fact, several of my good friends at the time, other kids who I spent significant amount of time with, did become lawyers. I did not. I changed my mind. Ask me again when I was 17. I was going to be a professional trumpet player and maybe teach music. Music was my life at that point. In fact, I went on to go to music school, and that's where I met my wife, Elaine, also a music major. But for reasons outside of my control, teaching music was not to be, and so I remained working in the local technology industry. I was in the materials, warehousing, and transportation side of the local manufacturing economy. In fact, I got another undergraduate degree, this time in business materials management. I was now committed to the business world, so I went on to get a master's in business administration. But the changes did not end there. I left the world of manufacturing for that of information technology. Then a few years later, consulting, then back to information technology. And now I work in consulting again. Oh, and I'm a student at the Institute of Buddhist Studies now. So is it okay to change your mind? You know, there's another branch of Buddhism called Zen. Many of you have at least heard of Zen Buddhism. There was a 20th century Soto Zen teacher named Shunryu Suzuki, who taught the concept of Shoshin, or beginner's mind. What this means is to be open to new things, new ideas. Always remain curious. When you start off with the attitude that you already know everything you need to know about something, you're really slowing down your own growth. You're preparing yourself to learn less rather than more. In Buddhism, we teach that one of the reasons that we have a hard time understanding the truth, understanding how things really are, is that we, as all humans do, look at things based on our own experience and knowledge. We think about what we have done before, seen before, read before, or been taught before to put this new piece of information into perspective. The problem is that we're trying to fit this into a pattern that already exists in our head. But what if this new idea doesn't fit any of those old patterns? Think about the things you own right now. Think about your room. What if you had a separate box for each type of toy or thing you have? You have a box for toys, toy cars and trucks, a box for dolls or action figures, a box for stuffed animals, a box for books. Now for your birthday, someone gives you a video game. Where do you put it? It's not a car or a truck or a doll or a stuffed animal. It's not a book. You have no box for video games. This is a new thing. If you're not willing to think about something in a new way, you may end up putting that game into the doll box since it's a game with battles and action figures. Or if it's a game about racing cars, you might put it into the car box. but it's not really a car. By simply putting this game into one of the old boxes, you're not getting the fun and excitement of the new thing in your life, the video game. You may not even remember that you have it since it's buried in with all of your old things. This is the same process we go through with the new ideas, the new things that we could learn about. Sometimes we need to make a new box, start a new collection, see things differently. Your life will give you many of these opportunities. The Dharma provides us with many teachings to understand how to deal with new ideas. We are taught that everything is impermanent, that everything changes. So it is okay to change. We are taught that we are all connected. This is the concept of interconnectedness. That means that when the things and people around us are changing, that we will need to change as well. With each change in our lives, with each new thing that comes our way, with each new idea we see and hear, we have the opportunity to expand our mind, to expand our experiences. If we limit ourselves to what we already know and how we currently think of the world, we miss the chance to add to our experiences. We miss the chance to make that new box that keeps these great new ideas in a place where we can find them and enjoy them. The beginner's mind is a wonderful thing. It's great to have an idea about what you would like to be when you grow up. But when it comes to school, remember that school teaches us how to learn. Learning is a lifelong experience. Learning how to discover, learning how to do something new, learning how to decide whether something is good for you or not. These are all skills that you will use throughout your life. Don't worry too much about what you want to be when you grow up. Instead, learn how to become a lifelong learner. And by the way, don't be in such a hurry to grow up. Please join me in Kansho. One moment can change a day. One day can change a life. One life can change the world. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. Thank you, and again, happy Mother's Day.
Thank you, Michael. Really appreciate your Dharma message this morning. Yeah, beginner's mind. very, very difficult to have a new box that we can put things that we're learning and expand our kind of repertoire, I guess, of things that contribute to our lives and to identify and to make them a part of our lives. But again, thank you for your Dharma message this morning. We'll see you again next time. Thank you. And thank you to everyone for joining us for this morning's service. We hope that you have a wonderful Mother's Day, that you'll be able to spend time with family on this day. I'd like to make a couple of announcements. First is, next week is our Gotanye service, and we will be observing Gotanye with the other temples of the Coast District. It will be our first Coast District joint Gotanye service, and it will begin at 10 o'clock next week. So if you would join us for that Gotanye service again next week, Sunday. And Gotanye is the celebration of Shinnan's birthday. So it's a nice service. And again, it'll begin at 10 o'clock next Sunday. And you can join us on this YouTube stream. So please be sure to join us for that service. Infant presentation will also occur next week. We usually have this service in conjunction with the Gotanye service. It begins at 9:30, and the infant presentation will be with the families who notify the temple that they would like to participate in this infant presentation service. And it's just those families. and it'll be a Zoom meeting, not streamed live to YouTube. So please let us know if you would like to participate in that infant presentation. There's information in the Dharma newsletter, so please take a look at that. Well, again, we like to encourage people who are Spanish speaking to contact us as well and see if we can put together a program that might begin to reach out to our Spanish speaking friends to be able to share the Dharma with them. And not last, but certainly not least, remember to subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 so that we could do remote YouTube streaming. But by subscribing, we don't come and bother you in any way. We just are able to increase the capabilities that we are able to do through YouTube. So again, next week Sunday is our Coast District joint Gotanye service that will begin at 10 o'clock on this YouTube channel. So please join us then. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us for this morning's service. And Michael, thank you very much for your Dharma message. As we close, will you please join Kansho and Sanbutsuge? Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you, everyone. See you next week. Yes, Gotanye. Thanks. Good morning. Welcome to this morning service. Happy Mother's Day today. I hope you're able to spend some time with family and maybe with friends as well, but celebrating this important day in all of our lives, a day when we acknowledge the importance our mothers have had in our lives and express our gratitude and appreciation for all that they have done for us. We'll begin this morning's service with the reading of Sambujo, followed by the reading of Sanbutsuge. So if you please join us. 짐흥어 그녀세엠요 무요토샤네 징아즈마니 슈코엔요 하이시츠옴페 연약주목 요라이요겐 조세문인 쇼아그나이온 오드지법 가이몬 쇼진 삼마이지에 이토금으려 슈쇼케음 진다이센넨 쇼부츠호카이 그진진노 긍옹아이타이 무묘여그느 세손여무 닌노시심 진토금으려 그긍오나이 지에짐요 호묘이소 신도다이센 강가삼붓 자이쇼호 간도쇼집 미프기낫 버세조입 가인인 쇼진 묘세삼마이 지에이조 모세통음읍 응여싱안 이사이쿠금 이사다이안 계시음읍 야그센노구만 무녀다이쇼 슈녀고자 그여이서이 시토쇼붓 번영은엄 겐쇼풍약 인용오자 쇼붓생아이 버프강예 무슈세츠노 고묘시쇼 헨시쇼노 요세쇼진 이진난료 룡아삼붓 고쿠노다이이치 노슈키묘 노조조셋 고쿠뇨나이온 니무토소 나토아이민 노나츠이사이 지포라이쇼 신네츠쇼조 이통아코 히라그안논 고부츠 심요 쟁아신쇼 호증한 노희 랭이쇼쇼여 제포세손 제에멍에 조려시손 쟁아신요 계려신심 쇼큰노 그추 앙여쇼진 닌저하기 세사이 노헛 보다이신 와좀 나만나 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 Will you please join now in the reading of the three treasures? This is the version 1 in the Dharma School, the service book on page 8. Hard is it to be born into human life? Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One? Now we hear it. If we do not realize the truth in this life, when will it be realized? Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we absorb ourselves in the principle of the way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves the supreme will. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we be submerged in the depths of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we live in harmony in the great assembly as disciples of Buddha and be free from all hindrances, becoming units of true accord in the life of harmony, in a spirit of universal oneness, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriads of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Good morning. Again, welcome to this morning's service on this Mother's Day. Mother's Day would normally, here at the Betsuin, be a time when CYS holds its pancake breakfast in our annex and the annex parking lot area. And there would be hundreds of people that will come to support CYS, and many of the people who come for the CYS breakfast would be temple members that will come to service, and also Wesley Methodist church members would come for the CYS, because CYS is the community youth services, and the CYS pancake breakfast supports their programs and the programs that they provide to the youth in our community. So both Wesley and the Betsuin members would come and support that, and we would have hundreds of people. And the annex would be filled with families having conversations, kids running around, making a lot of noise, and having a good time, enjoying the company. And I hope next year at this time we will be able to once again gather together to be a part of these events that have been with us for such a long time that we kind of took for granted that this was going to happen. I mean, there were a lot of people, of course, that participated in the planning of these events, but it was something that we were able to come together and enjoy, to see friends and to see people that are a part of our community and who have been a part of our community for such a long time and have helped to make our community what it is today. And again, I hope next year we'll be able to once again enjoy that CYS pancake breakfast over in the annex and our parking lot. But today I hope you're able to gather together as family and perhaps with friends as well to participate in this Mother's Day and the kind of the sharing of the importance of family. Certainly all of our individual conditions are different. For some of us, we may be able to see our mothers, and we are able to have a good relationship with our mothers and acknowledge, in a way, how important their lives and their support means to us. But for some of us, our relationship perhaps with our moms have gone through very difficult times, and maybe that relationship has kind of deteriorated over time. Or maybe for some of us, and I know for those of us who are getting older, our parents, our mothers are no longer around, and we may be ourselves mothers, caring for not just young adolescents or toddlers, or caring for adults who may be on their way, on their careers, establishing themselves, and they themselves becoming parents and mothers. And it is a part of our lives, this continual cycle of connecting to one another, of realizing that we are deeply connected to the world around us. Our lives are not separated, nor something that we are able to create and establish for ourselves. but rather we are the result of many, many lives, many circumstances and conditions, and how we view the world and how we appreciate the world results from our experiences, results from our understanding of our relationship with the world around us. When I think of my family and my mother, who died more than 20 years, more than 20 years ago now. It seems like a short time ago, but already 20 years have passed since her death. A lot of changes have occurred in my life since that time. But when she died, I was able to, because of the Betsuin's generosity and support, I was able to return home and to be with her for a little while, and to be there as her life came to an end. There are many memories that I have, of course, of what I shared with my mother. Not all of them good. I was not the perfect person that I am now. Okay, so I was never a perfect person. I was never a really good, well, there were times when I think I may have made her feel as though I had accomplished something in my life. But the relationship sometimes was very difficult. I remember when Moksen Miyuki, who came to Hawaii, Moksen Miyuki was a Higashi Honganji minister, and late in his life he decided to study psychoanalysis, and went to Zurich to study at the Freud Institute. And he trained and was certified and came back and began to teach. And he was at, I think, Riverside for a while, teaching there. But he had come to Hawaii as a guest of the Hawaii Kyodang, and in a lecture series shared what his appreciation of Jodo Shinshu, and from not just a psychological perspective, but from his experience of Jodo Shinshu as a priest in the Higashi Honganji tradition. But I remember at one time I wanted to share with him my thoughts and my experiences and what I was going through, and this was when I was in college. And so I said, well, let's go up into this place. It was called Jackass Ginger, and it was a trail that led to a waterfall and a pool. And I thought, oh, a very nice place to go, and we'll go and we'll sit down. We can have a conversation. And what I wanted to talk to him about was how I was, kind of having difficulty with my relationship with my mom. And so I thought maybe he could give some insight. And so we went up there and we sat and we talked about what I was experiencing. And as we sat there, the mosquitoes started to eat us alive, and it was really terrible. I thought it would be a wonderful setting to have this deep, meaningful conversation with Dr. Miyuki, and it turned out to be a disaster. Often the plans, I think, are going to go otherwise, kind of end up like that. And what I wanted to share with him about my relationship with my mother was that I was kind of having a real difficult time at that point, and not certain of where to go or what to make of it. And what I had hoped would be a conversation about and maybe gaining some insight, turned out to be a mosquito-infested walk through a swamp. My relationship, as I hope everyone, we have aspirations, we have hope, and we have maybe the a true desire to have relationships go as best as they can. And we may have some ideal of what that might be, and so we strive to make that ideal real, and we put effort and into making that relationship. But I think sometimes that ideal of what it should be or what it could be really gets in the way. It prevents us from seeing what is taking place and from experiencing what is taking place. As a flower arrangement instructor, my mom used to take me on these trips into the forest and to cut branches from the forest to use in her arrangements. And of course, we wouldn't take a lot of branches, but these were on properties that friends had, and they were up against a hillside, and so we would go in and bring branches back that she could use in her arrangements, and she would drag me along because I was the youngest and I was the only one that didn't have anything to do, and so she would say, "Come on, let's go," and then we would go. And though sometimes it was enjoyable, sometimes I would say, "I have something I have to do," and I would complain and won't go about things, and not really be as supportive as I could have been. But that's looking back, right? And when I look back, there are many things that I could have been. I could have been better at doing the kinds of things that would have provided better for her. As a child, of course, I'm looking out only after what I'm interested in. And I shouldn't say of course, because I know some of you are able to think more about others than yourself, but I was very involved in what I needed and what I wanted, and so often it would conflict with what I needed to do or what I should have done to help others. My responsibilities at home were very limited. I didn't have a lot to do, but after my father died, the responsibilities that we shared as a family became more and more increasingly important. As a growing family, my brothers and my sister and I needed to help with the home. But at the same time, we needed also to kind of do things that we enjoyed, that we wanted to have done. I remember when my brother was in high school, I think, it was a time when, and I think it's coming back again, or it may have come back and now it's gone away again, but drapes were the fashion. And when I refer to drapes, I don't mean what hangs on your window finishing, but drapes were pants, and these are pants that we went through a loose fit, and now we went back to skinny pants, and now it's kind of becoming, I think as the boomers get older, we're going back to more relaxed fit. But there was a time when, if you folded the legs together, you put the legs side by side, the waist would go straight down, and the waist would be the same size as the width of the bottom of your pants. And these were, I'm not sure why they were called drapes, but they were very stylish and very important. And my mother sewed these pants for my brother, along with other things that she was busy trying to raise us, the four of us, keep house and earn a living that would feed us. And we would be making these demands. The demand, the unreasonable, I guess, demand, that the one that I remember, and is certainly not the only one, but every year there was a makahiki. So makahiki is a gathering of all the scouts on the island of Oahu, and we would go to this camping. Gather together and go camping, and it was called makahiki. It's like a camporee, I guess now, but at this makahiki, all of the troops from on the island of Hawaii would gather together. And I remember the makahiki that I went to was actually in Diamond Head Crater. We see Diamond Head as, in profile all the time, and we have this lovely kind of a profile of Diamond Head. But Diamond is actually a volcano. It's a dormant, at least for now, a dormant volcano. And it was a military, not a base, but there was a facility in there. And I think it was tracking or something. But we were allowed to go into, and so there was a tunnel right through the side of Diamond Head that took you into the inner area, into the caldera of Diamond Head, and a large flat area that was provided for the scouts to set up their tents and to have their makahiki there in the crater of Diamond Head. That kind of sounds very, very wonderful, huh? In the crater of Diamond Head, makahiki. But it was dusty and dry and itchy. And what I asked for my mom, I said, Mom, can you sew me a tent? What? so it was a tent that I wanted to make, and it was like a pup tent. So very large fabric needed to be put together. You can't get a fabric of that size, so she had to sew this fabric together. And then, of course, if it rains, the fabric has to be somehow waterproof. So I can't remember if we used wax or some kind of material anyway to put on this denim that she found, that she sewed into this tent that turned out to be really, really heavy. So I had a homemade tent that was used maybe once, that she said, yeah, okay, let's make this thing. And it was a request that was quite outrageous, and yet at the same time, Mom said, okay, let's make this thing. And made this tent that I used for this event, camping in the caldera of Diamond Head. The one thing I think that, all of these demands, and that's just, of course, a very small sliver of my life, one weekend, a week in the many weeks, many years of this relationship with my mother. And it's not just me, right? It's the other three, my siblings, asking Mom to do things, and Mom, taking care of what needed to be done. But as a very kind of self-involved, selfish person growing up, thinking of what I need. So what can I receive, from you? And yet, Mom taking care of 4 children, being able to provide for what I needed, or at least what I thought. I really need this. I really need to do this. And sometimes it takes for me, it takes a long time to figure those things out, to realize how my selfishness, my demands really are affecting the life of another person. It's not for me to say what her response to my demands whatever motivated her, whatever, I have ideas, we talk about it, we idealize it, we talk about how important it is, this relationship between mother and child. But as a child, my needs, as a person, my needs became center. And how can my needs be satisfied? I think now, 20 years after my mother's death, and in Buddhism we know everything changes, everything is in a process of change, and many of you have heard me in my memorial service, Dharma messages about the relationship that we share has not ended with the death of an individual, but that relationship, like all things, is in a process of change as well. As my life continues to unfold, my understanding of that relationship with my mother will continue to change, can take on new meaning and significance. And indeed, that is true. As my life continues to take on new experiences, my appreciation for my mother, really continues to deepen. The one thing that struck me today, it has been over some time, but what the idea, the feeling that I had was that during my mother's life, while she was alive, and I left Hawaii almost 40 years ago, or more than 40 years ago. I was reminded the other day that it's over 40 years since I left Hawaii. And once I left Hawaii, of course, there were less opportunities to interact with my mom, although we spoke over the phone, and we had the occasional exchanging of cards and those kinds of things, but it's a long distance, right? And now, 40 years later, the thing I wish I had done more, and this would be my advice if anyone is interested. I wish I had hugged my mom more. Now for a while we couldn't hug each other, so I mean, but now we can. I'll go back to to that, and it's not something that I think we have so much in our culture. But I remember when Auntie Betty came back from my uncle's study in, I think he was in Wisconsin. He was working on his MD. But when that family came back to Hawaii, she would hug everybody. And everybody used to think, wow, that's so weird. Auntie Betty is hugging everybody. How weird is that? But I wish that I had hugged my mother more, or had the opportunity to hug my mother more while she was alive. And I hope you have that opportunity, or make that opportunity to, whether with words or with action, to remember and to express how important their lives are to us. Again, the relationship you share with your mom may be quite different. I know I went through various phases with the relationship with my mother. Not all of them, and certainly I think the most of it was not very good. I was not a very good son, and I don't mean that humbly. I mean literally, I caused a lot of trouble. But things do change. We are reminded that things do change. That is still a part of who I am as a human being. I certainly have changed since then. And I hope in a way that I can share with you and that you might be able to reflect upon your relationship with your mother. And of course, in Buddhism, in Jodo Shinshu, we understand how our limited view of the world, how our narrow view of the world, our own view of the world is the results in difficulties for ourselves and for others. And it's a kind of a clinical way of talking about these relationships that we have with the world around us, and how we might be able to change that in a way that can support life around us through kindness, through compassion. Maybe it takes time, it's just a matter of time. But when we arrive at that point in our lives, that we might be able to share that with others, that the world in which we live might move a little closer to a point in which if we were to put on balance, that compassion was far greater than the difficulties that we cause and experience. Again, thank you very much for joining us on this Mother's Day morning. I hope you will be able to share some time with your family and friends, and to be able to remember that, being a mom is not just biological. Certainly that is an essential and part of being mother. But it's more than that. You can be a mother to someone who is not biologically related to you. It's that caring that is offered to us through that ideal image of the mother caring for a child. So with that ideal, hopefully we can move forward, sharing with one another our appreciation of the life that we are all a part of. Thank you very much again for joining us this morning. Just a couple of announcements before we conclude this service. Next week, next Sunday, is the first Coast District Joint Gotanye service. This will take place at 10 o'clock, so there's no service before 10. The service, this joint Gotanye service, and Gotanye celebrates the birthday of Shinran. The service will begin at 10 o'clock, and it'll be on this channel, this YouTube channel, so you can join us at 10 o'clock, or maybe perhaps a little before that, on this YouTube channel. All of the temples in the Coast District will gather together and participate in this first joint Coast District Gotanye service. And again, that'll start 10 o'clock on this YouTube channel on next week, Sunday. And again, there's no service prior to that, so please come at 10 o'clock. Before that service, if you are interested, there is a infant presentation service that normally takes place in conjunction with Gotanye, because it's Shinran's birthday. We introduce the new children, babies, to our Betsuin on that same day, Gotanye. So if you're interested, usually it's like from 2 years old down in age, who are formally kind of introduced to the temple. If you're interested, please contact the Betsuin office. It's in our newsletter, I think, as well. So, and it's been there maybe a couple months. So if you're interested, please contact the office. And our Spanish-speaking friends, if you are interested in learning a little bit more about Joro Shinshu and are interested in sharing that with our Spanish speaking friends, then please contact the temple. We're trying to develop a program that hopefully will be able to share with those who are primarily Spanish speaking, but who may have an interest in the Dharma. Okay, and then please don't forget, subscribe. We're not going to come and stalk you if you are a subscriber. It simply allows us to do things with our YouTube channel that once we get to 1,000, that's what we're aiming for. So hopefully, once we get to 1,000, we'll be able to do live stream remotely. Right now, we're limited to that, being here and from a laptop or desktop. So we'd like to be able to take advantage of that. And then we can also say, yeah, we got 1,000 subscribers. So anyway, please remember to subscribe. We appreciate that very much. Gotaye next week, 10 o'clock on this channel. Please join us for that. Thank you very much. Please enjoy the company of family and friends on this Mother's Day. Thank you very much for being here this morning. As we close, will you please join in Kansho and Nembutsu? Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida. Thank you, everybody. See you next time.